This could be the big one. The one we've all been waiting for. The culmination of months of hard work and years of wishful thinking. Because now, my business dream is on the cusp of becoming biochar reality. As ever, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, please head back to episode 1 to understand where it all began. But for those who are up to speed, let's fire this thing up. I'm Tom Praviti, and this is Grounded, a climate startup journey.
So that's our temperature logger, and it comes with a little thing so we can screw that. I was thinking of screwing that on to the post, and then it comes with this.
God, you got all sorts in here.
Oh yeah, PPE, fire gloves, all sorts.
There's the probe
There's
thing.
the probe. So that bit goes into the hole, and then we've got that much cable. I've got my temperature gun.
Nice. No, I haven't been visited by the world's most eclectic door-to-door salesman. That's Adam from Capjar. When we agreed to a co-ownership model on the machine, Adam said that he'd be hands-on throughout the process. And, true to his word, here he is, on the eve of the machine arrival, taking me through everything that he's brought to get us through the first few days of, hopefully, biochar production. Well, not everything. We'd also be needing a lot of pizza and the odd beer to keep us going. But before all that, there was some crucial logistics to nail down before the morning. And now that I'd been to see the machine, I had some idea of what we had in store. Yeah, alright. So you're thinking at that angle?
Not necessarily. I was just playing yesterday and trying to get... So that's about the 3 meters length.
Yeah. Sorry, I do appreciate that this is a little unpodcast friendly. Just try picturing us waving our hands around in a farmyard, attempting to work out exactly how and where this machine delivery was going to go.
Sort of there. So if he's got to come in from that angle, he's only going to be able to put it at that sort of angle.
Yeah.
So the question is, do we want it closer to here,
Yeah.
closer to there, or closer to there?
But you could then come at this angle and then slightly lift it and rotate it here.
Could do. The question is that actually what you want?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I have no idea what is the most practical angle. This isn't like when you order a small package and ask for it to be left behind your bins if you're out. This is a very large, very heavy, and very expensive black box that also happens to be the beating heart of this project. And if it isn't placed in the right spot, at the right angle, it's going to be very difficult, even impossible to use. But as Adam, my friend Max, and I sat down to dinner, there were also other matters on our minds.
There is a really important thing.
Yeah, what?
That machine, or the machine,
Yeah.
needs a name.
It's true, it does.
Old Smoky.
Old Smoky. Charring McCharface.
Yeah.
We call it Smog.
What about Ursula?
Why?
I really don't even know at this stage.
Gertrude.
No.
You should call it Ashley because it burns ashwood.
And it produces a bit of ash. Yeah. Ashley Cole.
Ashley Cole.
Ashley Cole.
Ashley Cole.
Ashley Cole. Name selected, it was time to rest before the big day. The air had all the excitement and anticipation of Christmas Eve. Except this delivery wouldn't be fitting in any stocking.
Wow,
We did it, mate.
she's here.
Happy days.
Jesus.
Oh, it's Ashley.
Ashley's here. Ashley's
That's
arrived.
brilliant name, actually.
We may have started the celebrations a little too early. She wasn't in fact here, she was at the end of our road.
Is he going to reverse and come this way?
He's reversing all the way up there.
Why? Okay. Oh, let's do that then.
And truth be told, managing traffic flows probably isn't in any of our skill sets.
Max, stop that car! Stop the car! Stop him! Don't let them go! Don't let them go! Stop them from going! Stop them! Stop the cars!
Against all odds and a steady flow of Cornish traffic, we got her up the road and into the area that would be her new home, where we'd laid the concrete base weeks before and built the structure to protect me and other equipment on rainy days. And gradually, we guided her into position.
You're on.
Yeah,
you're
I guess,
on the concrete now.
well, we'll go with that then. Yeah, so a little bit if you can.
Yeah, but he could lift it and push it later. So yeah, if you can extend it. What do you think?
She's quite something.
What you expected?
No, I was actually expecting it to be bigger.
Oh. Really?
Yeah.
How much bigger?
I don't know, like another 30% on top of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. It's not exactly what I was hoping you would say.
It's really not something anybody wants to hear. So you can make up your own mind. Let me introduce you. Ashley is a hexagonal cylinder, about 3 meters long, or several paces from front to back. She's a little taller than I am, about 2 meters if you include the legs and the platform that she rests on, and her width is similar, a bit more than my arm span. To add to this, she's got a chimney, or as I like to think of it, a spire, that stretches another meter or so into the air, and some other pipes and boxes at the back where the gases and liquids produced by the pyrolysis process are siphoned off. In short, she's a pretty imposing structure. Sure, there are much bigger machines out there, but slotting her into place, negotiating surrounding barns, walls and trees, was no mean feat, and it felt like something to celebrate with local friends.
10 meter high head.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Over the following days, the real work began. We'd be doing a few trial runs, checking everything worked on site, establishing what we needed, and basically learning how to actually make biochar. It was like an onboarding process to a job I'd hired myself for, and one for which I'd only partially read the job description. The first thing I noticed is that there's just so much stuff. I thought I'd been buying a lot in the recent weeks, but it turns out the big bag of tricks that Adam arrived with would all be pretty useful. There were tools to tweak and manage the machine and bits of equipment that would only come into their own once we started refining and improving our process. And there was kit to monitor and measure every part of the operation. Moisture meters, thermometers, and of course industrial-sized scales to weigh hundreds of kilos of wood each day. And everything needed to be tested, no matter how personal the results.
Let's turn it on, you can stand on it.
I'm not sure I'm 90k.
Well, Brian, you are.
Let's say you're 90.
I'm not 90.
But even with everything we now had on site, there were still things that we'd need straight away. And I was beginning to learn the value of local business people who would answer the phone at any time of the day or any day of the week if it meant helping out another local enterprise.
And you'll see he's even got a big side.
Got the bag, man.
Look how many lorries he has.
They're all different colours as well.
Business.
Oh, mate.
He's got dumpy bags everywhere. And dumpy bag all over his lorries.
Love it.
Hi there. Is it Richard?
Yeah.
Hi, Tom.
All right, Tom.
Lovely to meet you.
And
How are
you?
you doing?
Not too bad.
Yeah? Sorry to call you so late.
You look at.
Yeah, it's been a long day. But yes, we're in the market for some dumpy
Yeah,
bags.
we were here for dumpy bags. Heavy duty, 1 meter square sacks to hold all that biochar we're hoping to make. And we know we're in the right place because of the enormous dumpy bag man sign that was visible from the road.
People used to laugh at me when I put up a dumpy bag man, but people know that rather than my own name now. They say, is that the dumpy bag man?
Richard, or the dumpy bag man, had been a local institution for over half a century. In fact, I wasn't the first Praviti to have met him.
You would have met John, my grandpa.
Yeah, gentlemen.
And now you know me.
I know you.
Hopefully.
I'm glad to see the youngsters coming along.
Yeah. No, well, we're making the most of it.
Yeah, you do that. Life's too short. Pleasure to see you.
Yeah. Pleasure to meet you, Richard. Thank you so much.
That's right, you're welcome.
A real lifesaver.
Okay,
Real
that's no
lifesaver
problem.
today. So
As long as I've saved somebody's life, that's
Yeah.
what matters.
The next morning, it was time for the first real run.
could build up a little bit more here and then just chuck them in.
Yeah.
if we're going to go for more.
Yeah, we're not actually far off, are we? Probably.
Ashley has 2 chambers, and greedily, both need feeding with wood. In the larger top chamber is all the wood that you're planning to turn into biochar, not by burning it, but by heating it up to over 500 degrees. And in the smaller one below is the wood that you do actually burn, the fuel that will hopefully bring the upper chamber to temperature in the first phase of the process. And after we loaded her, we lit her up.
That's alright, that will catch, just needs to get hot enough.
Sort of something catching back there. Shall I give it another go?
Over several hours, we watched as the temperature climbs towards the target 550 degrees. Getting to this temperature or not could be the difference between making some very labour-intensive charcoal and making real high-quality biochar. And every time I fired up the machine from now on, it would be the difference between success and barbecue. Although I'd seen the process before, there was still so much to learn. Not just for me, but also for Adam. Although he'd been working on getting this machine developed for years, mine was the first site up and running. Everything we were doing was breaking new ground, for both of us.
This does make me very joyous. I'm super happy we got to this point.
Yeah? We got it
Well, it's
here.
just such a monumental bunch of stuff to just make happen, right? And yeah, thanks for being number one and wanting to do this, because I think you got to blaze a trail with this stuff.
It's cool to have it here. It's not really sunk in yet that it's here, I don't think.
As you might remember from earlier episodes, one of the things about making biochar with a batch system like this is that each burn is a complete and self-contained process. First, you get the machine to pyrolysis ready temperature, about 250 degrees. Then, you let it do its thing, the pyrolysis magic, where it self-fuels and continues to heat up until it plateaus. And finally, you let it cool down, before you can see the results of your labour. And for a pretty well-insulated box that you've raised to hundreds of degrees, that means an overnight wait before you can safely crack it open and get your hands on your char.
How did we open it again? Was it like that?
But the next morning, 5 minutes in, we were realising we might have a problem.
Well, I haven't really had any leverage yet.
We can't get the door open.
That's the
It's a
problem.
bit complicated.
Not really had any leverage yet. Did that open?
Didn't do anything.
20 minutes. We were still going.
Is it moving though?
No, it's not moving. It's this thing that's moving.
Right. Do you need better leverage?
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
Because that's the room.
Because we don't want to damage this.
After an hour, when the word leverage was beginning to lose all meaning,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Going, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Go. Go.
Come on,
That was it. That was it. That's definitely moving. Come on. Come on. Oh my god.
We're there.
Yes!
Leverage.
Leverage. What did you do? What do we do?
if I was going to be doing this several times a week, I needed to take note. Anyway, finally the evidence was there to see.
There it is. Pick one up and drop it.
Oh yeah, it just disintegrates. Whoa.
Look at that. That's cooked. That's properly cooked.
We'd made what looked like biochar with our machine on Buchanan Farm, subject to lab tests, of course. Now we just needed to do it 100 more times over the following months, ideally without spending an hour trying to open the damn thing each morning. In fact, over the next few days, there were plenty of things to get right. We tested out different load volumes, different mixes of wood type and moisture levels, and everything was logged. The thermometer fed directly into a computer, where we also recorded as much relevant information as possible, gradually building up a picture of what an optimum run might look like and how we could do our best to get there. Of course, not everything went perfectly. One early load never got up to the right temperature and came out looking, well, similar to the artwork for our podcast, let's say. But even this was an opportunity to record some educational content.
Really, this isn't charcoal. This is sort of somewhere before charcoal in a process called torrefication. So most of the water has been driven off of the wood here, but there's essentially lots of volatiles in. So if you put a flame near this will go super quickly. This was cooked to about 340 degrees, and in the industry we call it kind of brown ends. So you can see you've got kind of charring on the edge, but you've also got some still brown, which would indicate there's still lots of volatiles in there. Whereas biochar, this bit for example, you can hear it. Even when you touch it, you can hear very hollow, very light, and has that sort of tink as you drop it. Gives you a good idea that this is well cooked. And then one of the other things is that you could use this and eat it. You've given me the largest piece here. Thank you. I'm going to take a little bit.
I'll take a little bit
but,
as well.
Here we go. We'll give it a try. And that was that. Tasty.
Yeah, I don't think I would try that again. It doesn't taste of anything, but it doesn't taste great at the same time.
And that's how we ended up in hospital. Just kidding, we were fine. Better than fine, in fact, because we soon realised that this torrefied wood actually had a potential value. Not as biochar, but as a super efficient and dry fuel for the firebox. Using this instead of fresh wood could get our machine up to temperature much quicker and save us time and energy on our runs. There were a lot of discoveries like this. It kind of felt like being let loose in the school science lab with no teaching supervision.
The way I interpret what's going on is this is a very backyard science experiment. I mean, we're looking at a homemade green wire running out of the choo-choo train with a fire underneath it, and all the while you're taking measurements of what the temperature is at various stages of time, right? I mean, I don't want to discredit this. That's absolutely not what I'm getting at when I'm saying a hobby science experiment. It's very well structured and thought through, but this has to be a proof of concept to see if and how so you would make this on an industrial scale.
Yeah. Max was right. As much as we were having fun, this truly was a pilot project to discover the long-term viability of doing this as a business. We were constantly identifying and ironing out problems, from how to open the door to how to reliably reach high temperatures. This also involved learning about how to maintain the machine. As bulky and as sturdy as it was, I soon realised that every part of it needed to be treated with the utmost care.
Ashley. I'm sat at the back, resting against Ashley, because it seems as though one of her valves has broken.
And although it looked pretty insignificant, it turns out it was pretty essential.
So I can't turn the machine on because I won't be able to get the exothermic process started. So we're stuck. The machine's loaded, got 500 kilograms of wood in there, but I cannot do a burn today. Don't really know what to do.
The entire operation had to be paused while I waited for a new part. But as well as finding ways to do everything more efficiently, we were also working to ensure that the overall climate impact of this project was as positive as possible.
But more than anything, this energy that's being sent through the machine and then also being emitted by the wood and the gases coming off of it, that needs to be captured 100%. Like, parking any kind of environmental concerns aside for 1 second, from a business point of view, you are just you're using energy to create energy, and it's just
That energy is just wasted.
It's just going off into the Cornish countryside.
Yeah. Pyrolysis produces volatile gases, and at a certain point, as the pressure starts to rise, we have no choice but to release them. If you flare or burn off these gases instead of releasing them directly into the atmosphere, you can significantly reduce the amount of methane or other pollutants. Yes, you are then releasing CO2 into the atmosphere, but at significantly lower rates than if your biomass had been burned or had decomposed. And flaring is commonplace in any biochar operation, regardless of whether you've got a £2 million machine or a £30,000 machine. The challenge that we found when it came to flaring, however, was that our flare kept going out. This was happening during the early part of the pyrolysis process, and likely because the last bits of moisture being driven off were extinguishing the flame. For safety and environmental reasons, we needed to solve this ASAP. After a lot of tinkering and some creative thinking, we did manage to find a way to consistently keep this alight. But with every problem solved, there was another tweak or improvement to consider. And the big one was going to be heat recovery, using our excess heat energy rather than letting it go to waste. We were soon going to be working through our driest wood, and if we wanted to keep the process running smoothly, using this heat to dry out our wetter supply felt really important. Meanwhile, more trivial matters were also keeping me occupied.
Still not sure about the name. It's got negative connotations, potentially. We could just call it Ashley, and then if people ask, Ashley Cole.
I'd been incredibly grateful for Adam and Max's support during those early days, but they couldn't put their lives on hold forever, and all too soon I was waving them off. Ashley and I were now alone on the farm with a very clear job to do. And sure enough, life soon settled into a rhythm. So, here's a day in the life of a small-scale biochar producer. About 3 or 4 days a week are run days. This means an early start. I wake up in the farmhouse, make myself a coffee, and make my shortest and arguably favourite commute of all time to work. 50 metres up the lane. First task of the day is to empty the previous run, raking the biochar out of Ashley and into one of the dumpy bags we got from the dumpy bag man. Each day's char also needs to be photographed for our records, and crucially weighed, so that when we eventually get data on the carbon content of the char, we can calculate how much carbon we've actually sequestered and how many credits we've delivered. Next up, loading the kiln, shifting over half a ton of wood by hand and doing my best to pack the machine thoroughly and evenly. Closing the door is a hell of a lot easier than opening it the first time had been, but it still involves a fair bit of muscle and some sealant to keep the chamber airtight as the pressure rises. Then it's prepping and lighting the firebox. Early on, we'd realised that getting oxygen to the fire was key to maintaining a good burn. So I position an air pump with a long funnel directed into the flames and periodically check that the fire is still going strong in the early phases. Over the following hours, the temperature inside the chamber will steadily climb. This part of the process is always a bit of a nail-biter. After that early failed burn, you never quite know how it's going to go, but pretty much invariably it gets up to temperature, above the number that we need to hit to make real char. And I obsessively pore over the graphs that my laptop draws in real time, showing the speed of the burn, the occasional dips or pauses in the temperature rise, and the eventual plateau once it's maxed out. While this is all going on, I'm also monitoring the pressure of the chamber, because if this gets too high, I have to start releasing some of the syngases. And when it's ready, I flare at the back, and keep an eye on it to make sure that these gases are getting burnt off.
So the machine is currently at 324 degrees, 328 degrees, it's climbed 4 degrees in 1 minute. It's now going through its whole sort of like crazy phase, where the pressure's super high, and then what you hear now is the excess energy that's coming off the flue stack at the back, which is being flared right now. It's just crazy how much energy is in, like, I don't know, 600 kilograms of wood. It's just insane. Quite scary, really.
So this is the burn itself. But amongst all this, I'm also preparing wood for the next day. Getting half a ton ready takes quite a bit of time. We've got to select relatively dry wood from the barns, bring them in via a trailer or a wheelbarrow, and then get it down to size. If any of the pieces are too big, there's a risk that they won't char through, so it's worth being overcautious with this. Very large pieces I tend to attack with the chainsaw. Some of the smaller pieces can go straight in, but most of the stuff in between ends up at the log splitter, where I work to get it down to forearm width. This is a lot easier with 2 people, but as I'm working alone at times, I need to accept the hit and the extra time that this takes. Preparing the next day's wood is a couple of hours work at least, so whilst I'm doing this, the machine usually reaches its max temperature. From this point on, once I'm confident the temperature is peaked and it's beginning to come down, I can take my eyes off it for a bit. Maybe pop back to the house for a late lunch or make some calls, often with my laptop so that I can continue to monitor things remotely. By mid-afternoon, I hope to have finished the next day's wood prep and have the machine gradually cooling, and I can pack up my kit and call it a day. I'm still running a business, of course, and recording a podcast, so it's not exactly Netflix and cup of tea time. At this point, my second working day begins, the desk-based part, which is closer to the jobs that I've had before, except that by this time I've been up for 8 hours, smell like a Texan smokehouse, and my face usually resembles a chimney sweep from Oliver Twist. Not great for those video calls. And the next day, I might just do it all over again. Unless...
Woke up this morning at 6:30 and it was dark outside and no lights were turning on, which was odd. Everything was off, so went out to have a look, and yeah, the switch had flipped in the barn, which gives the power to the rest of the houses, but flipping it back didn't do anything. Then the electrician came and he was like, there's nothing wrong with your power, it's actually the national grid. So I had to drive down to the river where the power line is to check on that. And we've now rang up National Grid and they are sending somebody out to have a look. But it means that we can't do another run today of the machine. I've got no internet. I've got no electricity. My freezer has started melting. And my 4G doesn't work. So, it's one of those days. One of those days.
Living on a farm has so many benefits, but as country dwellers will know, you have to be willing to put up with the odd power cut. The truth is, there are many reasons why I couldn't be making biochar 5+ days a week, as I'd initially imagined. Firstly, there are all of these little or big setbacks, power outages, broken equipment, and so on. And I realised that I wasn't just running a machine, but running a whole site, and I had to dedicate time and energy to solving problems as they arose. Secondly, this is just tough work. It's physical, it's kind of smoky, and I was out in all weathers. As much as I'd known this would be the case, there's nothing you can really do to prepare for it, and honestly, I just didn't feel up to doing this day after day after day. On top of this, I'd experienced some unavoidable delays, with the machine delivery itself or waiting for spare parts, and to top it all off, the amounts I was charring each day were less than I'd initially hoped. In short, stacking the machine full to the brim runs the very real risk that it might have too much energy and too much pressure building up. So in order to preserve the machine and not risk blowing a gasket or a weld, we're sticking with about 2/3 of our initial target amount. What this all meant was that with every exhausting week, I was falling a little further behind the targets I'd set myself. That 25 tons of carbon removal I'd promised to deliver by Christmas felt like a long way off. And until I had my data back on my biochar, I didn't actually know how carbon rich or durable it was. And if the results were poorer than I was expecting, the best case was that I might have to make even more to hit my carbon credit targets. And the worst case really didn't bear thinking about. Don't get me wrong, I was loving so much about this work. It was challenging and satisfying and completely unlike anything I'd done before. But going through all this and doing it all alone, it was starting to get to me.
Lovely to meet you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thanks firstly for putting an application in and for taking some time out to have a chat with me today.
but really kind of the point of this is to
Big
get to know you a little bit
news.
more.
I was about to make Restored's first hire. Plymouth University had an internship scheme for business postgrads who wanted experience with green or sustainable enterprises. And after interviewing some of the talented students who were keen, I was about to double the number of people on my company's payroll.
Like, what was it that was interesting to you? What made you apply?
Yeah, like you rightly mentioned, I have a marketing background and I'm currently studying in my master's in digital and social media marketing. And prior to my master's, I've worked with a tech company back home in Nigeria, where I'm from, on the marketing department. Secondly, I'm also passionate about sustainability. Like I mentioned, that is my current dissertation topic. So that also captured my interest. Then,
Oluwaseun would be working with me for a few months on our marketing and comms, collecting content, advising on strategy, and helping to spread the word about what we were doing. Yes, that meant recording TikToks and helping get the podcast out to a wider audience, but it also meant providing some occasional company and an extra pair of hands on the farm.
Can't do that every day?
Not
Quite.
I mean, it felt like some kind of exercise, right? It's not something you want to do every day, but doing it once in a while, it's fun.
While the biochar making was getting a bit repetitive, it was great to feel like the business itself was growing and developing. And talking with Oluwaseun about things like our marketing strategy made for a really nice break from the wood chopping. It reminded me of the role that we could play in informing people about biochar and carbon removal and advocating for something that I was passionate about. Meanwhile, I was realising that the prospect of a few days in the late summer sun in the Cornish countryside could be quite an appealing draw to some of my friends. So, as I headed into my second month of biochar production, I started to benefit from regular visits and, importantly, some free labour.
Here he is.
Harry's a former colleague who knows all things carbon removal, so it was great to show him around the site and offer him some hands-on experience doing the manual side of things.
Yeah, is it what you expected?
Yeah, I think I'm mainly just surprised at how long everything takes, or it's more of like a reality check in terms of how long everything takes and an insane amount of input for, a relatively small profitable output, even just like having to split all the wood. You spent like half a day doing that yesterday, just splitting logs for like 4 hours. But it's really cool. I think it's really cool that you've actually done it, I think, and endless learnings from it.
With the benefit of time in this new life and the outside views of people like Harry, I was starting to put this whole journey into some perspective. And as much as there was a lot to be daunted by in the here and now, there was a hell of a lot to be pleased about and excited for.
Yeah, thanks so much, mate.
Hey, man.
It's been awesome. So good to see it all in progress and stuff.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah, very impressed. I'm also, feel slightly humbled after realising, how much manual labour goes into that. It's cool, and it's like, I don't know, there's something very satisfying about seeing the end-to-end process and stuff.
Bye. See you later. Bye.
That was Harry off. I like having people come here, see their kind of eyes open to the whole experience, and then be able to sort of like tell them about it all. So see who's coming up next. In September, I had another visit from some colleagues. This time, my team at the Carbon Removal Show. Researcher Henry, co-host Emily, and producer of that podcast and this, Ben.
Yeah, it's cold.
It was cold.
It's really nice. Oh, I love being in water. It's my favourite place to be.
With dips in the river, trips to the beach, and evenings at the pub, I was beginning to make the most of life in Cornwall. In between the relentless biochar making, of course. And hearing what everybody made of what I was doing made me realise this biochar business really isn't a walk in the park. And it kind of feels good to know that others see this too.
Cheers! Here's to biochar. And here's to being more Tom Braviti.
I'll drink to that. Thank you very much.
How can you be more Tom?
Oh, you can always grow into yourself.
I said to Ben today that I think my favourite Tom is biochar Tom.
Oh, do you reckon?
Yeah. You're just like on it. It's quite inspiring.
You do seem in your element.
And it's very clear that in an extremely short space of time you've learned a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're just so confident out there, like, oh, we got to do this, and then we do this, and blah, 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 blah. Here, Henry, here's how you use the chainsaw.
Yeah. You know, they say, like, the best way to learn something is to teach it. Like,
Yeah.
do you feel that having people down here is, like, a good part of the process for you? Or are you a distraction?
No. I'd much rather you here than not be here.
Cheers.
One of the things I like about it is that, like, today we achieved making biochar. You know, like, you can, like, start and finish in a day. It's like, we did the thing.
Yeah.
That's, like, quite satisfying.
Did it turn out very different from your expectations?
More impressive than my expectations.
In what way?
Really?
Yeah. Oh. Say more.
In fairness, life at the farm felt pretty good a lot of the time.
Tom and Ashley, let it be. Let it be.
But not even Emily's ukulele playing could mask this ominous feeling that I had. I still had to work out my heat recovery. I still didn't know the quality of my biochar, and I was now pretty behind schedule. Next time, I don't even know, I just need a rest. We're taking a couple of weeks off, but we'll be back soon with some big updates. You've been listening to Grounded, a climate startup journey, a podcast from Restored. Thanks to everyone who chatted to me on this journey, whether recorded or not, and a shout out to the team behind the show, our producer and my creative partner in crime, Ben Weaver-Hinks, our marketing coordinator, Oluwaseun Sani, our graphic designer, Lyubov Pankiv, and Paula Science, Jack Turnham, and Lizzie Reed for all of their work on helping promote the podcast. And a special thanks to the Future Leaders Network for supporting this podcast. If I could ask you to do just 2 favours, please hit that follow button wherever you're listening and give us a rating because it really helps. And share this episode with a friend or a colleague who you think might like what we're doing. You can find us on restord.earth. That's restored without the second E, .earth.